everyone, it's Bella from Stellar View, and today I'd like to share with you my astrological analysis of the national chart of South Africa's current astrological weather. I would like to first read you the following disclaimer. This information is my astrological analysis only and my interpretation of the potential of this radix chart based on the time, date, and location. These interpretations is to be considered as suggestions and possibilities. The public is invited to reflect upon the interpretations and assess if they are worthy of being taken into consideration or not. This interpretation reflects a potential but does not offer a guarantee for that potential. In no event do I take responsibility for accuracy of added links and information connected to reference material or any direct, indirect, or incidental punitive or consequential damages of any kind with respect to the information of this video. This is purely informative and for entertainment purposes only. And with that, I will start with the current astrological weather for South Africa. And I hope you did take the time to listen to my part 1, where I, in general, discuss the radix natal chart of South Africa, just to give you a little bit of background. On the 8th of September, 2018, the progressed sun moved into Gemini, where it is currently and suggests a time for faster moving change, collaboration, the end of an era, profound evolution, and a significant shift in energy. This might also indicate more interaction with other countries since the sun rules the 7th house. South Africa is currently in a Ferdaria period of Jupiter, which is an active advancement and development stage, which will last until 2026. The progressed moon in the 10th house of Scorpio and government will also be in exact opposition to the sun in the 4th house of the president on the 27th of September this year, 2020. Which might imply that he could be second-guessing himself and feel uncomfortable in moving forward on an important issue that is asked of him involving a woman in government. It can denote conflict in regards to the public, also public health issues, or it can include land, housing, farms, security, finances, living conditions, food supplies, health, and foreign relations. Next year, the progressed moon takes approximately, or let me start like this. The progressed moon takes approximately 27 to 28 years to return. And currently, she has returned to the 10th house. Her exact return will be next year on the 9th of October, 2021. The 10th house of government is therefore a focus and will possibly involve some kind of accomplishment or some significant kind of fruition around this time. Progressed Mars is currently at the critical degree of 29 degrees and 27 minutes in Aries, and this could indicate issues with decision-making, making plans of action, much stress and worry about the outcomes, because it can cause sudden, hasty, and spontaneous action, not at all according to what was originally planned. Mars is currently the ruler of this year's profected 3rd house of Aries, and it also rules the 10th house of government in Scorpio. Therefore, the indications with decision-making and plans of action is in regards to the government. Next year, progressed Mars ruler of the government, will be moving into the angular 4th house of Taurus, changing signs on the 13th of May 2021. This 4th house will also be the profected house of the year, starting April 2021, which is the house of Venus, and Venus also rules the 9th of law. This is significant and could bring up fear, the past. It can bring up clannishness or race issues, security issues, events regarding living conditions, housing, land, possession of land, justice, and the law. Plus, progressed Venus is also sextiling Mercury in the 4th and implies confidence that those plans will succeed. The progressed midheaven is also in opposition to natal Venus with a 0-degree 8-minute orb, which brings government business, honor, and publicity at odds with social relations, values, possessions, land, truth, and justice, and brings up the need for compromise. Solar arc Mars will come to oppose the natal midheaven and conjunct the natal IC exactly on 20 December 2020, which suggests an event of action, taking a forceful stand in connection with the government and opposition, land, plans, infrastructure, trade, that might not be well planned out, but rather an emotional reaction of aggression, but indeed action. Mars rules the 3rd and 10th houses. In February of 2021, Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn will be conjunct in Aquarius. Mercury will be retrograde during this, and the stellium will be making a dynamic T-square to the natal planets in South Africa's 10th and 4th houses, as well as transiting Mars and Uranus in Taurus the 4th. Mars and Uranus is unpredictable, but will bring unsuspected, impulsive disruption of all kinds. This is potentially so many things at once. This could involve rebellion, violence, technology, tracking, the future, leadership, control, and legislation. Unfortunately, Mars and Uranus are wild cards, but expect disruptive, restrictive, profound change. More astrological weather. On September 9th of 2020, Mars in Aries, ruler of the 3rd house, and the 10th house will be stationing retrograde until November 13th of 2020. This will affect movement, transportation, daily commute, mobility, petrol, your fellow man, the internet, connectivity in general, media, infrastructure, shops, how you buy and sell, neighborhoods, trade in general, schools, and action in regards to the 10th house of government or those in power. It might be a good time to stock up on medicines and non-perishable food items, and also communication devices such as radios, in the case that this is needed. This can suggest a reassessment or a redo of current projects in regards to the topics mentioned. We can expect unusual displays of action, violence, protests, riots, an increase in violence and individual frustration in regards to those in power, as the government is ruled by Mars. Actions can be more indirect, irrational, or obtuse, a more sneaky or secretive method of going after their objectives, a blindsided approach. There is a tendency here to go back to the past, reworking or redefining, and if this retrogression seems to have slowed things down, it will pick up flame once Mars turns direct again on November 13th. Pretty much whatever is acted upon during this time could again change. So best be prepared for radical action towards goals not previously reached by the government. In some cases, because of its strength, it can act without consideration of others towards goals and not be willing to negotiate. Mars also rules pandemics, and this could bring more illness or the general need to rest more. Mars retrograde is much closer to the Earth and its effect is much more intense. This can also cause fires and events that include fire and warmer temperatures. Expect topics that Mars rules for the next 2 months, such as the military, weapons, violence, aggression, conflict, real estate, physical energy, machinery, mechanical operations, disease, war, impulsive action, anger, accidents, fire, heat, action by individuals and government without the regard or negotiation or compromise of others. Since Mars rules real estate pricing could go down during the retrograde period, which again will change once Mars goes direct on the 13th of November. By the end of September, beginning of October, transiting Mars will also conjunct what ancient astrologers considered the most dangerous, violent, and evil fixed star, Algol, known for violence, beheadings, mob violence, misfortune, hangings, and electrocution, that currently sits in the 4th house, conjunct the South Node and opposite the North Node. So expect extreme actions and violence. The transiting moon is currently in the 5th house of Gemini, making more real emotions come forward and possibly issues about possessiveness. She trines Mars in the 3rd, and there's a possibility of much independent action being taken by individuals and the government itself, also inducive of the ability to give the people the feeling that your aims are the same as theirs in order to receive cooperation. The transiting new moon in Virgo on the 17th of September will trigger the security and power of yours versus mine axis, and the economy, and once again, personal property. The 18th of September 2020, transiting Uranus in the 4th will be opposite Jupiter retrograde in the 10th, and again on the 22nd of April 2021. Sudden unexpected break from restrictions and the law possibly, acts of rebellion, disruptions involving conflict, unsuspected and unexpected changes of plans, or a change in the path that has been followed, trying something new at the expense of the status quo. This could involve the opposition, the law, government, and territory. On the 1st of October 2020, transiting Uranus in the 4th house of Taurus will sextile Saturn in the 2nd of Pisces, and again on the 16th of April 2021. An opportunity to effect change to rules and procedures of the system through original and unconventional ways is expected. 17 November 2020, transiting Saturn in the 12th of Capricorn will be sextiling Pluto in the 10th of Scorpio, and this energy can be associated with acting on purpose, calculated action that involves power and wealth. Strategies are to the point and are easily implemented with support. This involves restriction and regulations and those in power. Could it be corruption, abuse of power, Remember, the sextile is not necessarily a positive aspect as that it means. It is an easy flow or cooperation between the two areas involved. Could it also be connected to agriculture, mining, land, criminal activity, restriction, isolation, and loss? The 4th of December 2020, transiting Pluto in the 12th conjuncts Neptune in the 12th. This could suggest harsh circumstances that are out of control, imposed by those in power connected to socialism. It can denote fraudulent activity or organized crime by those in power, since it also sextiles the moon in the 10th of Scorpio, suggesting cooperation with a woman, deception and criminal activity connected to the past and history. Ironically, it can intensify weaknesses in order to bring out strength. At most vulnerable, you are pushed to probe shortcomings by probing them to the core. Painful and fated events that has the potential to bring people together and focus on our common humanity, as we take personal responsibility for being the change that we seek. This is a hard transit that ultimately leads to renewal and rebirth. Pluto will enter Aquarius in 2023, where its effect will transform South Africa completely. The quality of the changes they want to bring forth will be a result of the cooperation in the people banding together or not, or risk possibly being overpowered by a dictatorship. Eclipses. The effects are not always at the time of the eclipse, but can manifest 6 months prior or post of the eclipse. Eclipses this year has been activating the 6th and 12th houses, which are of the pandemic and everyday life and isolation, corruption houses, as well as the 5th and 11th of politics, me and we relationships, and freedom. On November 30th, there will be a lunar eclipse in the 5th house of Gemini, of youth and entertainment, sports, arts, and speculation. This eclipse could also affect the people, political affairs, and completions. This eclipse could also suggest issues in regards to trade, lawlessness, and violence, powerful storms, and drought in areas. The ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, and he is at the time of this eclipse in the 10th house of government, conjunct at 27 degrees to the radix Pluto in Scorpio, bringing a powerful announcement or convincing speeches regarding radical reform. Transiting Venus, ruler of the 4th opposition and of land and resources, is in debility conjunct radix Jupiter in Scorpio in the 10th, which could involve international financial involvement of the mercenary kind, a soldier of fortune. Transiting Jupiter is conjunct radix Uranus in the 12th, which can imply sudden arousing of a reform movement against unjust conditions or beneficial assistance from afar or above. International involvement or an encounter that allows you to accept something that might have incited fear before, seeing it from a different perspective, or finding a solution. Transiting Pluto is also conjunct radix Neptune in the 12th, forcing to deal with the darker side of the past in order to break its influence of control, or it could suggest further corruption and deception by those in power. The moon is making a square to the radix Saturn in the 2nd of ownership, land, agriculture, the economy, and ability to purchase, suggesting difficult, uncompromising challenges here. The moon is also making a cooperative sextile to militant Mars, ruler of the 10th, strong in Aries, the third. Therefore, this eclipse could propose a sudden, powerful move involving those in power and personal property coming to a head. Since Mars is unpredictable, we can expect anything. Therefore, it is best to be prepared for anything. On December 14th, there will be a solar eclipse activating the 11th house of Sagittarius of governmental institutions. This eclipse could also suggest more lawlessness, flooding, fear, scarcity of crops, changing circumstances, beliefs, laws, international and race issues. Transiting Pluto will conjunct or still conjunct radix Neptune, implying issues of history and also corruption of those in power. Transiting Uranus conjunct the radix Sun in the fourth, the president. This can cause extreme unpredictable disruption, instability, and a revolutionary period. This could suggest the president breaking old patterns and embarking on a new course. It could also possibly put his life in danger. Transiting Saturn is at a critical 29 degrees during this eclipse in Capricorn in the 12th, finishing off old karma and leftovers of the past. Getting ready to reach the ascendant Aquarius. Not entirely sure of how this new beginning will look, but realizing it is time to cut your losses and look to the future. The ruler of this eclipse is debilitated Jupiter, and he is conjunct Saturn in the 12th, re-establishing the feeling of restlessness and breaking away from the established order into the new. Saturn will enter Aquarius on December 17th of 2020, and it could bring life to a slower pace. It can bring temperatures lower than usual for the next 2 years. It can be a reality check and maturation. It can signify restrictions and a period where we are getting rid of things in our lives that are not working for us in the real world and focusing on improving and strengthening the things that do serve a useful purpose. On December 21st, 2020, on the solstice, Saturn and Jupiter will come together in what astrologers call the Great Conjunction, which will usher in the New World Order, the age of Aquarius, after ending an approximate 2,000-year cycle in Pisces, the fishes, and the Great Awakening, as some have called it. The old is dying and the new is beginning. But before the new can take form, old issues has to be addressed. Disruption to established order, dramatic changes, also in how we communicate, and it will also eventually square Uranus and Taurus 3 times in 2021, in February, June, and December, continuing at intervals in 2022, denoting issues of consolidating of resources and land reform, but also globally implies recessed economic conditions and high unemployment to the likes of the Great Depression that lasted for years. The next depression that is starting as of December 2020 to January 2021 is estimated to possibly last for maybe the next 3 years of the likes we have not seen before. But globally, the higher principles of the age of Aquarius will be the new direction of equality, brotherhood, and freedom. Some will choose AI and others their human family or dictatorship. All of this unfolding in the next 20 years. The nodes that are currently in Gemini, the North Node in Gemini, and the South Node in Sagittarius is showing the way forward through information, new ways of learning, online learning, trades, change, reform, and collaboration with those that are different from you. Dissolving old beliefs and staying flexible, fast, and portable. By looking at the highlights of the solar return and the Libra ingress chart, which is valid until the country's next birthday in 2021 of April, I would say the following. The solar return is in the new moon phase, indicating new beginnings. The ascendant is Taurus with the sun in the first and brings the national fourth house to the first, and could mean that the leader could be inclined to act without others' cooperation or input. Uranus is here as well, assisting change suddenly. It can also include international involvement, as the sun rules the seventh house in the radix. The moon and pars fortuna is in the second house of Gemini, suggesting changes and collaboration in regards to ownership, values, and land and economy. Interestingly, the Sabian symbol here for fortuna is two Chinese men talking Chinese in a Western crowd. The Sabian symbol for the moon is a black slave girl demanding her rights of her mistress. Mars is in Aquarius in the 10th house of government and is keen to take action on lifelong goals. This could incite rash decision and striking out towards change without the consideration of others, and reinforces the position of the sun in the first. Mars also rules the 12th here, of unredeemed karma and hidden agendas, as well as endings. Saturn is also in the 10th in Aquarius and suggests a renewed commitment to revolutionary goals, the Sabian symbol being an unexpected thunderstorm. Jupiter in the 9th suggests a benefactor and support from foreign origin or high standing. The North Node in the 3rd house has a Sabian symbol of a sailor ready to hoist a new flag to replace the old one. Interestingly, the ingress chart, the Libra ingress chart, has Aquarius as ascendant, just as the radix does, highlighting the future and a new way of life, the ending of the old, and is conducive of a connection to the current world agenda of the New World Order. On a microscopic level, what the world will see in time on a global scale. The moon in Sag is a parent of the attention of the masses on foreign affairs. Plus, being in the 11th, it means government connections and allies might undergo changes. With the sun in Libra in the 9th, the president would need to be careful of losing sight of his own objectives. People in high foreign places might sponsor him in certain affairs regarding alliances and contracts. The Sabian symbol for the sun here is a butterfly made perfect by a dart through it. Mars is in rulership in the 3rd, which could suggest communications taking on a defiant tone. And there is a determination and courage, an awareness of a bridge to be crossed and the obstacles ahead, but a willpower to persevere. Many projects at hand and changing plans. A connection in regards to media and government. Immediate environment and daily life and movements in regards to government action. Mars squares Saturn and says proceed with caution. Frustration and blockages are part of the daily. Mars squares Pluto and suggests fierce power struggles and can cause ruthlessness and underhanded action towards people. Conflict, danger. Jupiter in the 12th in Capricorn suggests empathy towards fellow man and an emphasis on everyone being in this together, spiritual awakenings and higher intuition, connecting to God, which will assist with what's happening around you. But it questions the topic of justice as it is weak in Capricorn. It conjuncts Saturn and brings isolation and restriction with change on a huge scale. It also conjuncts Pluto, which suggests a loss of track of normal human values, conflict with authorities, and a tremendous drive for power and achievement. Success this year will be a moral victory. Saturn has been here for the last 2 years and is finishing up the old karma from the past and clearing the stage for a new beginning. It indicates a time of cutting your losses, a feeling of grief. It rules the 2nd and 12th of endings, losses, possessions, property, and money. Now, at first, we can resist with Saturn and experience fear and depression and uncertainty of direction. It can also indicate results or a completion of a long period of hard work or struggling towards goals in regards to the 2nd house of property. Eventually, you will feel more in control and be willing to take action yourself in deprivation without actually suffering. Mars in Aries will help with individuals taking action and persevering. Uranus in the 4th reinforces being uprooted. Neptune in the 2nd indicates the changes of how we value things and can also indicate loss of possessions, land, money. It suggests values becoming more spiritualized. Pluto in the 12th suggests forces that undermine and that things are not as it seems. Its Fabian symbol is 2 awards for bravery in war. I've been asked by many whether I see a war in South Africa. In this case, the ruler of the period is malefic Saturn, and profected year ruler of the chart is malefic Mars. The solar return ruler of the year is Venus as an evening star, which on that day of 27 April 2020 reached its magnitude of brightness for the year. In fact, it shined 9 times brighter than Jupiter and 20 times the brightness of the brightest star in the sky, Sirius. This does give me hope. Venus can bring justice, blessings, agreements, compromise, and peace to our attentions. But it also brings the leaders of the so-called opposing parties to the forefront. Could this be the king's advisor, Mr. Julius Malema, as perhaps the star of the show? As currently Venus is a morning star and considered male, not female, and the ancients and the Mayans related him to war. In the Libra ingress chart for the period, Saturn is the chart ruler. Mars is separating from a conflicting square with Saturn. And if Mars was angular, it could suggest war according to Abu Mashar, but it is not, even though it indeed rules an angular house, the government. Mars also squares Pluto at 22 degrees, known as the kill or be killed degree, according to renowned mundane astrologer Nikola Stojanovic. Mars is known as a planet of war, but Mars is also unpredictable. War does not always mean guns and bullets. War can be acted out in many ways and under many guises, is what I would say. My prayer is for South Africa, beloved country, true liberation, and healing from separation and the wounds of the past, coming together in collaboration, in peace and harmony, as one human family living without corruption, but rather in safety, integrity, respect, and trust with one another under Almighty God, to the highest vibrational frequency of Aquarius. I will end with the Sabian symbol for the Sun in Taurus in the South African radix chart. At 6 degrees of Taurus, a cantilever bridge across a deep gorge. The keynote is the conquest of separativeness through group cooperation. The person who has suffered deprivation and loneliness can give new substance to his or her emotional life by participating in a collective project. All great evolutionary challenges imply the overcoming of basic difficulties. A step ahead must be taken, yet an abyss confronts evolving man. It is no longer a personal void or an open grave, but a chasm that is an integral part of the land upon which man's evolution must proceed. A link must be built through the power of the collective mind of the group or of the community at large, on the basis of the legacy of the past, to make a bridge over the canyon, conquering obstacles. May the sun shine bright on you today. Thank you for listening. Until next time.